Greetings, Dr. Joseph Martin, Don Galenqua. The topic now for this session is Imagination is Reality, Engaging the Adventure of Self-Discovery. Well, recently I've been going through all the interesting TED Talks that I can find and other talks by interesting people around the world from all different backgrounds and ages and genders and orientations and ethnic races and so on. And I'm finding something very interesting, which is the following, that people are either into the sports and improving themselves, like climbing Mount Everest, swimming across channels or around islands, doing something extreme to test their courage. That's one realm that I'm finding. And another is those people are all interested in leadership and what leadership can be. This video is going to be my life story of how I was born with a big hole in my heart, the size of a silver dollar, and what that's meant for me as I've spent my life trying to focus on healing myself physically and healing myself emotionally and spiritually. I believe that we have a notion that ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, which is simply that every single individual life actually covers and goes over the entire life of the whole society and the species, in this case, Homo sapiens sapiens. Other things that I've found that people are interested in is issues around, for instance, how education is planned amnesia, that we all seem to be stuck in a kind of George Orwellian 1984 world where every single institution seems to be blocking us, putting us in boxes, stultifying us, and so on. And it is planned amnesia. So whether it's the education system, perhaps the justice system, other organizations and institutions, this seems to be a major issue that people are listening to. It's the reason why I exist, and what I know is to look for those core key issues that we're all involved in that seem to be perplexing, and they give us a sense of something that we need to focus on to find some kind of understanding and wisdom, something hidden inside. Other talks that I've been listening to are how to overcome the shame that we feel and our insecurities, and also to build self-worth. Other ones, how to heal the split between our left hemisphere, which is totally analytical and categorizing and separation based, with our right hemisphere, which is about emotions, cosmic feelings of oneness, music, sound, dance, movement, art, vision, dreaming. How can we heal those two sides? My whole life story has been about this, and let's get into that now. As I said, I was born with a hole in my heart, and I'll get to that in a moment, but I also had this blindness in my eyes called impetigo that seemed to be common in the nurseries in the 1950s. And I feel that that's symbolic of our society and we as individuals, that we're blind to why we're here, we're blind to who we are, and we're blind to how we can change this for the better. And the hole in my heart seemed to be a symbol for every person I've ever met, which is that we have holes in our hearts. We're wounded. We have a lot of pain and suffering around our self-identity and self-confidence, and just as much or more pain around how we lose connection or feel separate with other people, those people we love and would dearly like to be more deeply connected to. This hole in our hearts seems to be a collective symbol even worldwide, where we just seem to have so much psychological and emotional feeling of pain, suffering, sorrow, grief, loss, loneliness, depression, and meaninglessness. And believe you me, I've had that in spades in my life as well. So while I was unable to do any kind of physical sports or even walk around as a child, until the age of 16 actually, I had to do something else, and I guess that was going into my right hemisphere, and a sense of listening to sounds, to the birds, the wind in the trees, and listening to music, mostly classical music when I was very young, learning to play the piano at age 4, and I will play for you here in this video near the end. For my goal for this video is that by the end of this video that I'm sharing with you, you will feel inspired and know why and how you can create your own personal mythology and your own transformational healing life story. Because you just start with where you're at now and move forward. Your past is your gold. That will be the soil that will give you a soul that will grow deep roots for yourself and grow right up into the light in your heart and beyond in the cosmos. So when I was young, also, I had no recourse, being in a very abusive family, no recourse but to go inside myself. And of course, some of the other videos and TED Talks I've watched show that we all have to answer the question why. And we have to live ourselves from the inside out, even though the system and the society, the so-called matrix that we live in, wants us to live the society as nobodies, as nothings, as robots, from the outside in. And we know that doesn't feel right. In our gut, it doesn't feel right. In our heart, we know it's not true for us to be that way. We need to live our life open-heartedly from the inside out. And open-hearted surgery is what I needed at age 8 years in order to survive. Because as a young boy, when I remember when I was 2 and 3 and 4, I was wondering, like any animal would I survive? I knew there was something seriously wrong with my physical health. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't catch my breath. I would faint and fall over and go unconscious. I couldn't even get to school without somebody's help because I would always fall over. And so this knowing of the fragility of my physical life and body gave me a sense of a higher purpose I had to find in my heart and from my inner consciousness, from the inside out. How was I going to find out why I was here? Where did I come from? What did I know? What could we know? What can any one of us know? And this was the substance of my childhood. Even though it was extremely painful, both physically for me and also obviously emotionally in a family that didn't understand, or for the most part didn't care, and even in a way, whether I lived or died, I had to fend for myself, so I had to take self-responsibility. I had to create rituals of self-responsibility. I had to create ceremonies of courage for myself. I had to create transformational healing rituals for myself as a young boy, and I just only did it from what my heart, my intuition told me. So I was able to build up my right hemisphere, I guess you say, in my heart by just finding out what worked and what didn't work. It was a very lonely process and a very lonely path. And then again, I was doing this all as only a young child would do, with great sense of openness and vulnerability and humility and just trying things and obviously feeling very much alone. And I'm sure some of you have felt that in your childhoods and maybe even now. Now, you know from social psychology that around the age of 8, the young child, the young girl, or the young boy start to develop their left hemisphere, which is a completely different person. It's the part that's separate, it's the ego, it's analytical, it categorizes, as I said, and it tries to understand from a distance, objectively, even scientifically, what is really going on and what can we understand about all this. So I was really intrigued to read as many books as I could about all these matters and start reading back actually quite early. And by the time I was a teenager, I was reading voraciously. And I remember when I was around 16, as I was studying Jungian psychology, something I grew to be very fond of and became part of my path and my career, I read a book called Imagination is Reality. And that was the title of the book. And I thought, well, that's not what I'm hearing from scientists and my school teachers and all of these things. They're telling me that imagination doesn't matter and that everything is objective and detached and analytical. And whatever you imagine isn't even true or real. It's just a fiction. And you're not supposed to have any imagination. And that's when I started to realize more and more that education and our school system, which is only 120 years old, is actually some kind of perpetrated system that's all based in the left hemisphere and totally separate from the right hemisphere. So we've split ourselves off and become a schizophrenic matrix kind of society, haven't we? And you know, the increasing unimportance in schools around the world of all the things that matter from our right hemisphere, things like music and singing and dance and art and movement, all these things that create have dreams involved and the soul involved and emotions and feelings, and we can get our body and soul and mind all together as one in it. The things that give us a mystical, magical self experience and a sense of joy and adventure in the world. The things that most of us lost when we went to school because we had it as babies and children. And it's this reconnection to spirit, this reconnection to our soul, to the mystery of it all. This is what this is all about for me. And this is what my life has been about and what I'm sharing with you right now. Well, it's all in my autobiography, Living in Two Worlds, A Life of Love. But I like to say that Viktor Frankl, who was a great psychologist, psychiatrist, who brought together logotherapy, or the whole purpose for finding meaning in life and direction and a path that's purposeful and passionate for yourself, as being the central key thing to focus on in your life. What I've realized as I've moved through my life is the one great thing that is important for me is the keeping together of the music, my imagination. Even though I have degrees in physics and biology and microbiology and of course in psychology and philosophy and as a social cultural anthropologist, I was always looking for those things that talked about the magic and the mystery in the world from past cultures, because I didn't find it so much in our present day culture. This global kind of bland culture of all the societies, it feels to me like it's sucking the life right out of me and all of us here on the planet. And it doesn't matter what country or culture you're living in today, it seems to be doing that. The joy, the sense of freedom, it seems to have been taking that away. But you know what, like myself, I'm sure there are many of you that are finding yourselves from the inside out. And there have been cultural, social movements, whether it's in the last few centuries or maybe even in the last 80 years, whether it's the suffragettes in the women's movement who've come to demand equal rights. And again, remember, rights are never given to you by the system. Rights have to be taken in your own way. You have to stand up for yourself and be accountable and get those rights. Or whether it's a Civil Rights March in Selma, Alabama, or the March on the Washington Monument in 1963, which was a moment in time when the colored people of America got all their civil rights. Or whether it was the Stonewall riots where the LGBTQ community had to take their rights back in New York City. It seems that people around the world are opening up to the fact that we can imagine. I believe we can dream again. I believe each one of us can dream. I believe that we can all dream together. We can all reimagine a whole new world that will undo what we found to be outside of ourselves and recreate and co-create the kind of world that we all know we truly feel and know and believe in our heart of hearts inside. And this is the goal, isn't it? You know, to reimagine the world, to create a sense of adventure and a sense of bright light around ourselves so that we can break out of the boxes that the outer world seemingly has created. And you know, every society has had to do this, whether it was the ancient Greeks and so on. And the only way for this to happen is to take the path of freedom, to use your imagination, to believe in your dream, to believe in yourself, to find out what that is from the inside out. There are many more things I can say about this. I just want to share with you that one of the ways that I co-create this ongoing dream for myself is I've had to meld what I know about science, the objective analytical science, with the inner heart and the feeling that I've had to do to create a wholeness in my life, to heal the holes in my heart, to heal myself emotionally, to heal myself psychologically, to reconnect with the one spirit, the one great light, to reconnect with the cosmos, to reconnect with the great mystery of the beauty of nature and all our relations. Mitikuyo yasen, we say. To reconnect with the beauty of what life can actually be about when you're here in the physical, and all the manifold blessed things that we're grateful for, and the things that we can do. The ability to walk, or to run, or to sing, or to dance. The ability to play music or any instrument. And all this is what it means to break free of the system. And the system is partly inside us, of course, and it's outside of ourselves. And there is a great tipping point, a great turning point right now on the planet, isn't there? The 21st century will go down in history long into the future as being the one century when we created a global sisterhood and brotherhood. We were able to step outside of all the things that are self-destructive and destructive of all other beings and cultures and the Earth Mother herself, and realize with some kind of great automatic aha, as it were, one fine day, many of us on the planet will wake up and stand up and say, we are one love, one heart, one circle, one mind, one drum, one people, one family. And you can do that now by starting to engage that part of yourself that's the adventure for self-discovery. For me, it happened through art as well as music. So I encourage you to do some drawing, some painting, some dancing, put on the music that maybe only you love, and just do some red and black paintings to it. Whatever it is for you, all the things that give you feeling and emotion and passion and help you to believe in your dream and give you hope and courage, even if you feel no hope or you think things are hopeless on the outside, you've got so many challenges, that's the time to persevere. That's the time to break through, as I've had to do so many times in my life when I've had nothing, with no money or no friends, or lost all my friends, or all kinds of other tragedies we all fall into at some time or other. This is the time, this is the moment, as soon as you're listening to this video, and maybe when it's finished, for you to go and do something very creative and positive and powerful. My knowing and my belief and my dream for you is that, like myself, you will create the best possible personal mythological story of the greatness of the love you are, and believe in the light that's inside your heart, and let it flow and let it shine. Let it brighten your path one step at a time. And may you have a great adventure in this life. Dr. Joseph Martin here, Om Namah Shivaya. Blessed be. Gratefulness for every one of you. We're all just mirrors of each other. Enjoy. Om Namah Shivaya. All love and blessings.